You're tuned into the Power Station Energy 100. This is Econo Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. We have given you the definitions of the fiscal quarter, the financial quarter, and also the calendar quarter. But we need to now go deeper into what has happened in the first quarter of 2023. That would be referred to as the calendar quarter.
Calendar quarter, yes. Also, we're talking now about the first calendar quarter. So the normal common sense quarter. If you don't take into consideration all these weird and wonderful dates at which different quarters start and end. So what any normal non-economic person would refer to as the first quarter is the first calendar quarter. It's the beginning of the year, and it runs until the end of March. So it means that we've recently completed the first quarter. So the first quarter is usually quite an important benchmark. Why? Because it sets the tone. It determines the level of the quarterly performances for the rest of the year. If you have a very good first quarter performance, good growth figures, it tends to improve business confidence. If people, especially if you come from a very difficult period like we've come through COVID, and remember we've battled until the end of 2021. It was not plain sailing. It was very difficult conditions until a year ago, and if you need a bit of a boost. Everybody who's involved in business and everybody who does something in the economy, they are normal human beings. They are people like you and I. And if you just hear bad news all the time, like 2020 with COVID and 2021 with the aftermath of COVID, then you can lose faith in what you're busy with. So you need a bit of a boost, something to tell you, this year is not going to be so bad. And that is what you usually get in the first quarter. The first quarter sets the tone for economic performance further down the line. It is not a fact cast in stone. What I'm trying to say is it's not always like that, but it's a huge psychological indicator, and it has an extraordinarily big impact on business confidence, and that is why it must not be underestimated. So let's look at the figures. The preliminary estimate for first quarter growth is 1.9%. Now immediately we have to go compare this, or we have to explain why do we say 1.9? What do we mean when we say 1.9%? I mean 1.9% of what? It sounds very clever and it makes a good impression, 1.9%. But you need to explain, how do we get there? What are we looking at? So what it means is that the growth this year is 1.9% more than what it was in the first quarter last year,
2022.
Yes. But now immediately, when you look at the quarterly figures, you will see that first quarter growth in 2022 was nearly 5%. It was massive in terms of quarterly, especially if you take into consideration that the GDP growth for the whole year was 4.6%. So now, does this mean that most of the growth only took place in the first quarter last year, and then we sort of fizzled out? No, it doesn't. This is where the statistical base becomes important. But let me explain.
Okay.
Let me not confuse you guys with fancy terminology. First quarter 2022 was good.
Okay.
Because of a so-called low base effect. So what this means is that first quarter 2021 was terrible. This is the low base. It was very low. I mean, you almost can't go lower. This is after 2020, when the economy shrunk by 8.1%. Now that is big in economic terms. So it means that 2021 was just sort of struggling to survive 2020.
Yeah.
So first quarter performance 2021 subdued, low base. So now we go into 2022. It's a better year. The economy is starting to improve. You can see the green shoots. There's a bigger circulation of money. There's a little bit more borrowing from the banks, but not fireworks. But because the 21 base was so low, the figures for 2022 looks good, out of proportion good. And now we get to 2023, which the first quarter was a good quarter, by all means.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like that on paper.
Okay.
Because 2022 was so much better than 2021. And this is what so the low base caused the very high or the very good figure last year, and the high base then caused the lower figure this year. Does it make sense?
It does.
It all depends where's your base, from which point are you measuring.
Oh, okay. I hope that the listeners also get this. But if you do not get this, once we come back, I will give you an email address where you can send your questions or maybe suggestions. Let's quickly go for that short break.